Hey everybody, welcome to Monday. I am talking Horizon Forbidden West today. There will not be spoilers for the game. I'm talking about the weird series of controversies surrounding the game. You may have heard of these things. There actually are facts involved. So here we go. I am playing the game on Twitch live if you want to come and see for yourself. I've played through the tutorial, which is 3 hours long. So I've put enough to get sort of a sense of the game. And my early impressions are it's visually stunning. They perhaps went overboard on the foliage in places. It does get in the way of the combat in the tutorial, but I've been told that once you actually get into the Forbidden West, that tones down a lot, which in my early limited experience of the actual open worlds parts of the game is true. Sound and music design, top notch. Sound and music design is an unsung element of game design, but it is so important. So I just want to shout out to the team that did that on Horizon Forbidden West, because it is so good. The controls are very complex, and I'm trying to see if I get used to them. I haven't yet. Apparently, you can remap, but I like trying to learn how to use default controls, because, that's the gameplay part of gameplay, right? So I'm saying this only to show I can be objective about the game. I'm not such a ridiculous fan of it that I'm not capable of seeing the shortcomings or flaws in it. We had a lot of jokes about Eloy's elaborately braided hair, and the minute that gets wet, that's gonna have to all come out because otherwise it grows mold. Yes, it does. Things you didn't know, or maybe you did. All of this is preamble to me delving into the controversy surrounding the game that resulted in the game getting review bombed. So if you like this kind of stuff, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. I am working an alternative to Patreon. Maybe Coffee. Is that how it's pronounced? Ko-fi. If you've used Coffee, please let me know what you think about it and whether you think it's right as an alternative. I'm not going to shut down Patreon, but I'd like to offer an alternative for people because Patreon does some stuff that's kind of sus. Anyway, there have been two key lines of attack on this game. And yes, unfortunately, it is a culture war thing. But the interesting thing is both extremes have, I will say, shit the bed on Horizon Forbidden West, whereas the average run-of-the-mill person seems to be, it's a good game, it's fun. Individual mileage may vary how good, but I have not heard from anybody who is sane that I talked to that finished the game that didn't have a lot of fun with it. So there we go. I have talked to people. I have done independent reporting on this. This is what you tune in for, right? And now my analysis. I am going to avoid naming names with the participants of this stuff. Some of you may have seen who made these comments. I think the identity of the speaker is a distraction in this particular issue because we criticize ideas, not people here, for one. Also, just let's face it, when certain talking heads in games say something, they feel emboldened to by the people around them. So they may be the only person speaking up, but they are not the only one with the opinion. So we're going to start on the left wing shitting of the bed and then move to more of the right wing shitting of the bed. And this is by no means a monolith. There are plenty of people who lean extremely left who think Eloy's a great character and really enjoy everything about the game. And then, there are people who are very right wing who don't share the beliefs of the bed shitters on this. So please don't feel attacked just because of a, coincidental political affiliation lineup. I know it's not everybody. These are all the damn caveats you have to do before you get into something like this because of the fact that people just attack people based on identity instead of looking at facts. And there are facts. that we can examine in this. And this is the whole purpose of me making the video. But I needed 5 fucking minutes of preamble before I could get into it. Jesus Christ, this is why I hate this stuff. And yet I feel the need to do it. It's the only way we're going to move past it. So the left wing shitting of the bed is that Horizon Forbidden West is, their word, not mine, racist, because they didn't hire Indigenous consultants. And they have mixed wardrobe and artifacts and all that stuff. And if they'd hired Indigenous consultants, they would not make that mistake. Okay. This is where the Horizon Zero Dawn spoilers come in. The mixing of cultures is a feature, not a bug. The world of Horizon takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where all life on Earth got wiped out and was brought back using advanced science, advanced terraforming science, and the reintroduction of flora and fauna species, and eventually human cloning. And that's why Eloy is a redheaded woman running around in the sun. I like they gave her a sunburn in Forbidden West because that's a mood. Welcome to my life. But yeah, the anachronisms, the blending of cultures are deliberate because the humans of this world are picking up culture based on little tiny bits of what was left behind with a bunch of cultures. And the original game had a mix of a lot of Bronze Age societies. Yes, there was some mostly Southwest Indigenous American stuff, but also Celtic fabric weaving, Viking dress and all that stuff. It was a mix of stuff deliberately. And here's where I'm going to turn it on its head. And based on the fact that Horizon Zero Dawn and the beginning of Horizon Forbidden West have that sort of Bronze Age aesthetic, confusing Bronze Age with Indigenous is making that colonial mistake of associating Indigenous culture with primitiveness. I mean, that's the thing that also gets people called racist, which is what I find interesting about this particular left-wing analysis, that they are so falling all over themselves to try to score points. They actually end up, I think, committing a greater sin, because this is fantasy. And I mean, we're in Song of Sparkle Muffin, we're deliberately combining cultures in an aesthetic because it's a fairy tale land with furry people. We're not saying this is a real life culture. No, we don't want to do that, which is why we're taking bits and pieces from everything and coming up with something that's familiar and yet, kind of new and shiny. No one's saying that it's an accurate depiction of any real life culture. Quite the opposite. And artists and storytellers need the ability to do that without getting hit by accusations of racism. That's not going to solve a single real world problem, right? It's not. It doesn't deal with the treaty violations and land and resource claims that we're dealing with up here. It doesn't deal with the loss of culture. It doesn't deal with the lack of clean drinking water in Indigenous communities. Nothing. It doesn't solve any of those things. It just allows certain people who have made this their business to say, hire consultants, bracket, like me. Even offering to be middleman for Indigenous consultants, because, that's not gatekeeping. Pro tip, a lot of these big studios, at least I know the ones up here already have those resources. So I would be very, very surprised if a Sony first party studio with all that money didn't have the same thing. Moving on to the complete polar opposite. Again, that is not the, I think, mainstream kind of leads left opinion. That was fringe. But I want to show the problems with it instead of just going, well, that's stupid, because we're going to do the same treatment to the other side. And I believe if you're going to criticize an opinion or a work, you should provide evidence as to why you think that opinion is wrong, instead of going, it's racist, spend money, right? No, you have to give facts and data and prove your case. So I'm going to, like I did there, I'm going to do that with this ongoing Eloy is mannish, Eloy is ugly, Eloy is unfeminine controversy, which is apparently the main source of the review bombing the game got. Now, apparently Metacritic did something to correct for the review bombings, so the user score has corrected, has recovered, but yeah, this is a thing that won't go away, and this is going to need a fairly lengthy preamble again to explain what the heck is going on here. Because let's show the many faces of Eloy. So I will show the issue. I will show the evidence that what they are saying is not so, and then I'll explain where this kind of bizarre opinion came from. So this is Eloy in the original release of Horizon Zero Dawn. This is sort of the special edition cleaned up. This is Eloy in Horizon Forbidden West. Now, they have said that they've made her more mannish. Take a good look at this, because it's going to be important. Now, Eloy is based on a real-life person. They use a single face and body model. It's an actress named, I'm going to butcher her last name, Hannah Hoekstra. I hope I pronounced that correctly, because we say Hoek, like Ren Hoek from Ren and Stimpy. I've been told that's wrong. So I'm attempting. It's Hoekstra. Hoekstra. But she looks like, I will show, this is her in her younger days. There she is. Yeah, looks very much like Eloy from 2017. Well, here's her today. You see, she's aged. Her face has matured. And she looks pretty much like she does in the game. Now, that's an old one from the pre-cleaned up mocap. But again, there she is. That's pretty close. It's even closer in the game. Oops, that's yeah, that's one of the articles about this whole thing. But you can see they, shocker, took an actress, and as the character has aged, they have followed how the actress has aged. Faces mature. Obviously, she was, just sort of on the verge of adulthood when they originally designed Eloy, and now she's a mature woman. She's 35 years old now, the actress, and so she looks older. That's it. Now, when I said that was pre-cleanup, there is a preamble here. This controversy didn't start just now. It happened with the E3 trailer, where it was not fully polished motion capture footage. Not just motion capture footage, but the aliasing was off in the demo. One would argue, well, this is Guerrilla's fault because they released unrefined footage. But, especially on these big projects, so in order to do an E3 trailer, you have to pull people off the main game to polish that part. And sometimes they're not given a ton of notice, and sometimes they run out of time. It doesn't totally come together. And it can hurt the advanced press of the game. But anybody with a trained eye for what unrefined motion capture looks like went, yeah, that was just a weird camera angle thing that they didn't clean up, which is why I use that particular angle of the face reference, because it is taken at a lower angle. Facial capture technology, all motion capture technology is particularly unforgiving with women. Um, some of the technology they use for capture actually real time corrects for certain things now, because otherwise it's friggin' hideous with a lot of people. The early mocap I actually did, I participated in. It's like, whoa, stuff of nightmares. I looked like Uncle Fester. Because there's all these things that just the camera sits here. I did an extensive video on this when the trailer came out, and showed how all of the things people were complaining about could be explained by unrefined motion capture technology. Even the colors were not really properly balanced, so on and so forth. There were signs, but people were coming at it from a place of being stung by two other high profile games. And yes, we're going to go Doom now, not Doom the franchise, Culture War Doom. The two games that have been cited as a trend in gaming to create deliberately ugly women, two whole franchises, two whole games make a trend. Which just, I'm being a little bit mocking there, because if you do any statistics, anything like, you need at least 3 data points. You can't do just 2, because one can be anomalous. You want more than that. But anybody who's done basic statistics knows in order to do a trend line, you need more than 2 data points. But Mass Effect Andromeda, which that was not my understanding of what happened with Mass Effect Andromeda. It wasn't a political agenda. It was a bad artistic decision, but apparently some social media posts by the creative director have led people to think there was some politicization in the utterly terrifying motion capture on especially, I forget the name of the twins in that game, but my face is tired, right? And then, of course, The Last of Us 2, specifically Abby. But see, I think the whole debate on The Last of Us 2 was incredibly reductive and unnecessarily personal, and I don't think the right lessons were learned from that whole thing. And I'm going to attempt to show why, and why I'm defending Aloy in a way that I criticized Abby, because it's not about whether they're attractive or not attractive. It is, for me, whether the character makes sense with the tone and style of the game, or if they are dissonant, or in fact may actually send some less than enlightened messages about anything, right? I'm not going to say harmful, because there's no evidence that media on its own contributes to a lack of body satisfaction, so on and so forth. Other social factors are much, much more powerful in determining that in an individual. So that caveat, so many caveats. But Aloy, as we see, Ashley Birch did the voice, but one body model. It's very clearly her, right? And I mean, Aloy's actual physicality is nothing, but if you look at a full body on Hannah Hoystra, that's her. That's what they based on, like Guillermo del Toro in Death Stranding, Mads Mikkelsen, blanking on the main guy, Daryl from Walking Dead. Anyway, moving on. Brain fart. You look at them, that's them, right? One person in a game where a female warrior with a bow and arrow is shooting robot dinosaurs in the face with fire. That is my elevator pitch for why you should play a Horizon game. Because it's a female warrior with a bow and arrow shooting robot dinosaurs in the face with fire. That is the core experience. Do we care if the main character in a game where you shoot robot dinosaurs in the face with fire is realistic? Not especially. It's a ridiculous premise, right? Anything that immerses you, amazing, right? But part of the fun of a high fantasy setting like that is the absurdity, the stuff we talked about with the, the elaborate hair braids that she'd have to take out every time she got them wet so they didn't grow mold, right? Ew. Especially since like a rot in the game in Horizon Forbidden West is a major, like, the world is dying because of this mold, and we're like, it comes from Eloy's weave. We had fun with that on Twitch, and we will continue to have fun with Twitch. Blast paste has become a tangible detail. Part of the reason the game is fun is because of these fantastical, inherently absurd elements that, transport us from our boring, shitty lives and takes us to a place where we can be silly and have fun and not take everything so seriously. The tone and tenor of The Last of Us 2 was completely different. And accordingly, we have to analyze and dare I say, judge the depictions of the characters accordingly. Now, the big problem with the reaction to Abby actually wasn't that she was ugly. It's because, let's face it, spoiler, she brutally murders Joel. She brutally murders one of the playable characters from the first game. People are not going to like this character. And unfortunately, we live in a world where, I don't know why, but when people don't like somebody's behavior, they go after their appearance. I have never understood that, but it's just this part of the human condition I really don't like. But that wasn't why people inherently had an issue with Abby. Now, that wasn't my issue with Abby. I didn't have the same problem with it. I thought the storytelling was poorly handled in The Last of Us 2, and you can see signs that they rearranged the order of events in the game. So there's a level that was clearly started off as a tutorial level that is now in the middle. Like, the difficulty just takes a giant shit. And, the zombies, the infected, are just standing around waiting to be killed. Like, it is clearly a tutorial level that they stuck in the middle of the game. I was right about the motion capture, so I feel pretty confident in this. And other people who have played the game or game designers are like, yeah, that played like a tutorial. But that aside, there's a deeper issue with Abby. And it's that this is supposed to be a gritty, more realistic as a zombie thing can be. But, I mean, zombie fiction tends to try to sit closer to our reality because zombie fiction tends to be a reflection of some sort of human fear. I won't spend a lot of time on this right now, but, that sort of gritty Walking Dead vibe, not the comic, the series, definitely, that's one of the origins of the whole Last of Us 2 deal. My issue with Abby as a character in that world is they were arguing realism, not fantasy like Horizon Zero Dawn is. Oh no, this is a near future in a world we vaguely recognize. Both are post-apocalyptic settings, right? But The Last of Us 2 hews much closer to a world that is more recognizable to us. They really, really poured on the realistic graphics, especially, right? No robot dinosaurs that you shoot in the face with fire in The Last of Us 2. Oh no, they even designed the zombies based on a real fungus that primarily infects insects, the cordyceps fungus. So enter Abby, who, unlike Eloy, who had a single face and body model and then a single voice actress, Abby is a Frankenstein monster of three very dissonant references. The facial model was not the same as the body model, and that was true for Dina as well. The Dina was not, the results were not nearly as dissonant, because when women get down to 3% body fat so that you can see all the fancy pants muscles, it hits the fat layer in your face as well. I talked about this extensively before. You don't have a nice little rounded face and then ripped from the neck down. It just doesn't work that way. And you don't have a cutesy little girly voice when you have all that extra weight and everything on. And it's funny because Joni Lore back in the day, rest in peace, Joni was a wonderful lady, did sort of have a higher voice, but it did not sound like, blanking on the actress's name, well-known, Laura Bailey. Didn't sound like Laura Bailey. And would this matter in a fantasy setting like Horizon Zero Dawn? Absolutely not. Does it matter when they're pushing for realism? Yes. Especially with the argument that Abby is somehow more realistic or more achievable, more attainable for the average woman. She's just not. She's not any more real. She's not any less male sexual fantasy. She's just a different kind of unrealistic, unattainable male sexual fantasy. They attempted to slap the label of feminism on that unattainable male sexual fantasy. And that's where we're allowed to criticize. And Horizon Zero Dawn does not wade into that territory at all. They don't hypersexualize Aloy, at least not in what I've played. She has relationships. There is sort of this romantic tension with people, but they don't have full-on, sex scenes with nudity in Horizon Zero Dawn, or what I've seen of Horizon Forbidden West. It's not that kind of game. Robot, dinosaurs, face, fire. That's the game. Last of Us 2 did have that. Abby is a hypersexualized character. Not only does her face not match her body, but she gets that body with dual portions of cafeteria burritos. It's just, burritos not only have carbs, they are salty, you would bloat, you would lose all your muscle definition. Abby, sexual fantasy, clearly. Is that fine? Yes. Is that fine? Yes. If you admit it's an alternative sexual fantasy. I got nothing wrong with sexual fantasies, okay? I would like to see a greater diversity of women promoted as, men and women, this is what I find hot. This is what gets me going. It's my game. I'm going to display that. If that's how Abby was presented, no problem, right? Doesn't matter if it's my thing or not. Doesn't matter if I agree. That's your thing. Takes all kinds to make a world awesome. So why people would take the Mass Effect Andromeda thing, which was just kind of corner cutting and really bad artistic decisions, or The Last of Us 2, which was a guy trying to sneak his FAP material, under everybody's nose as feminism, and pull that into shooting robot dinosaurs in the face with fire, and review bomb Horizon Forbidden West, the final game, because of not properly cleaned up alpha footage in a trailer. This is just, I think you can see how I feel about this, right? Like, I thought the insane left-wing criticism was insane, but, and wrong. This is just, wrong, too. 'Cause, 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 And the reason I'm even talking about this is not to embarrass or shame anybody or to claim that anybody is a bad person. Did you hear that? The purpose of this is not to shame anybody or claim anyone as a bad person. The purpose of this is to enter certain facts in so we can actually talk about facts and not conspiracies, because I get the emotional underpinnings of this stuff. But raw emotionality is not going to get us where we need to go in general, where game developers who are just making a game where a warrior chick shoots robot dinosaurs in the face with fire, they're just trying to make a fun game. They didn't ask for any of this. They don't want to be involved in any sort of culture war. They're not, okay, they did the Vanity Fair cover as marketing, but they're not. They just made a game. They just made a game that they hope people like. I haven't seen them out there. I mean, Ashley Birch is political as a person, but, a single actor in a project, actors are allowed to have opinions as long as it doesn't so overwhelm their body of work. She does a good job, right? So far, everybody I've seen in the game does a good job. You need your nose wiped, eh, Momo? But this is so silly when there are facts. There are facts we can talk about. And we need to get away from these ridiculous, cascading, ongoing variations on a theme, emotional reactions. And I know I'm going to get some comments that don't factor in a single thing I've said and just wanted angry typing. No, she is mannish. So what? Even if you're right, even if Eloy is more mannish, so what? She's somebody who runs around in the sun all day, man. Realistically, she'd be way more leathery. And people who exist on those sorts of diets, they don't have the, if you look at, body typing and things like that from those cultures, they're much more developed in the core. They're kind of lower down because of what they have to do physically. And they don't have a lot of, refined sugars. They can't do protein powders and the low carb and all that stuff. They eat what they can find. Let's not go there, okay? Let's not go there. It's perfectly fine to have a more athletic looking female character in a game where they are very athletic. Apparently the other stupid criticism is that they recycled animations from Horizon Zero Dawn. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Who the hell cares, right? I do not understand that criticism, but at least that's one based on the gameplay and the technical merits of the game, so I'm willing to fight that one. But like I said, I know there are going to be people who haven't listened to a thing I said and just want to angry typing comment. And I want to know why. I really do. And don't give me the conspiracy theories. What is the thing that is really bothering you here? Is it a sense of irrelevance? Because we can talk about that. We can talk about that. But we have to do it in a way that's fair and based on facts and not trying to pull a game that is about a female warrior shooting robot dinosaurs in the face with fire into places it doesn't belong. Because creators need the right to pursue their creative visions without things going completely off the rails, because the people who get shut down the hardest when that happens are future creators. So if you want games that appeal to what you want, and this is just me being completely honest. This is not political. This is me working on games and TV shows and web series and all that stuff. you have to seem like an audience that is remotely prepared to like something, like anything. That, you know, here's some stuff for you, here's some stuff for other people. If you're the type, if you seem like the type of audience where it's like, no, the minute I see one thing I don't like, I'm against you. And I say this to both extremes. People don't make content for you because that's an impossible standard. There's no pleasing you. If it has to be exactly what you want with nothing that you don't like, creators are not going to create content for that audience. Why? Because no one in their right mind creates content for people who are going to hate it. It's really that simple. So, looking forward to the comments that actually listened to what I said and didn't just knee jerk. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.